So there I was, Commander Jake Reeves, standing in the middle of Station Fang 7, wondering what poor life choices had led me to this exact moment. And let me tell you, representing humanity at the annual Galactic Apex Predator Conference was not on my career bingo card. Yet here we were. The station itself was designed to intimidate. Everything was sharp angles and dim red lighting, like someone had watched too many horror movies and decided to make it a space station. The conference hall was packed with the galaxy's finest killers, and I mean that literally. This wasn't a metaphor. These were actual apex predators from their respective worlds, and they all looked like they could use me as a toothpick. To my left stood Kravik, a 9-foot-tall reptilian nightmare from Draken 5, a planet where the ecosystem apparently decided that everything needed more teeth and acid sacs. He had scales that could deflect plasma rounds, claws that could slice through starship hulls, and an attitude that suggested he'd eaten better warriors than me for breakfast. Literally. He kept mentioning it. To my right was Ambassador Teeth. Yes, that was actually their name, or at least the closest translation. They were a crystalline hive-mind entity that looked like a geometric fever dream designed by someone who hated sleep. Their species hunted through electromagnetic pulses that could paralyze prey from 300 meters away. They also spoke in perfect unison with about 17 voices at once, which was deeply unsettling during coffee breaks. And directly across from me, filing her 6 claws with what I desperately hoped was boredom and not anticipation, was General Snarl. She was a Felinar, basically a bipedal tiger that evolution had decided to give extra arms and combat instincts that would make a berserker look chill. Her species had conquered 12 star systems through sheer aggression and superior hunting tactics. She also hadn't stopped staring at me since I arrived, and not in a friendly way. The conference moderator, a floating blob of sentient gas named Coordinator Wisp, drifted to the center podium. Welcome, esteemed predators, to the 342nd Annual Galactic Apex Predator Conference. Today, we celebrate the pinnacle of evolutionary excellence, the masters of the hunt, the Kravik interrupted with a growl. Yes, we know. Can we get to the presentations? I want to see what the human brought. The entire room turned to look at me. And when I say entire room, I mean 200 of the galaxy's most dangerous species all focused their various sensory organs in my direction. Some had eyes, some had thermal pits. One species apparently hunted by echolocation and screamed at me for 3 seconds straight. I gave a small wave. Hey everyone, go Earth. Ambassador Teeth's 17 voices hummed in what might have been amusement. The human representative appears to be unarmed, unarmored, and possesses no visible natural weapons. Curious. How did your species achieve apex status? Stubbornness, mostly, I replied, which got a few laughs. Probably not the kind I wanted. General Snarl's tail swished dangerously. I've read the human file. Persistence hunters, endurance specialists. You chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion, yes? How? Quaint. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds way less cool than it actually is, I muttered. Coordinator Wisp pulsed a calming blue. Now. Humanity earned their invitation through documented apex predator behavior on their homeworld. They shall present their credentials like everyone else. Commander Reeves, you have the floor. I stepped up to the podium, pulling out my datapad. This was going to be a long day. All right, I said, pulling up my presentation. So, humans. Let me just start by saying we're absolutely thrilled to be here among such distinguished company, Kravik snorted, which for a 9-foot dragon person was less a snort and more like a small volcanic eruption. I pressed on. Humanity achieved apex predator status on Earth through a combination of intelligence, adaptability, and what we call persistent determination. Persistent determination, General Snarl repeated slowly. Is that what you call refusing to die? I mean, yeah, basically. Look, our homeworld had some pretty gnarly predators. We had cave bears, saber-toothed cats, giant crocodiles, wolves, lions. Had? Ambassador Teeth's voices chimed in unison. Well, yeah, we killed most of them. The ones we didn't kill went extinct because we took all their food. It's a whole thing. Anyway, let me show you our stats. I pulled up the human biological profile, and I could immediately feel the energy in the room shift. Not in a good way. So, average human height, 5 to 6 feet. Natural weapons, none, unless you count fingernails, which I don't recommend in a fight. Natural armor, absolutely 0. We have skin, just skin. It's actually pretty easy to puncture, bite force, around 160 pounds per square inch, which sounds impressive until you realize a house cat has 70, and they weigh like 8 pounds. Someone in the back row actually laughed. It sounded like grinding metal. Sensory capabilities, I continued, trying to maintain some dignity. We've got decent vision, but only in daylight. Our hearing is okay. Our sense of smell is terrible compared to most predators. We can't see in infrared. We can't echolocate. We can't sense electromagnetic fields. Then how? Kravik interrupted, leaning forward with those dinner plate-sized eyes. Did you become apex predators? You sound like prey that got lucky. Well, we've got really good endurance. We can run for hours. Days, even. We literally chase animals until they die from exhaustion. General Snarl's ears flattened against her head. That's not hunting. That's harassment. It's persistence hunting, and it's a very valid. How long does it take for your young to reach prom? Maturity, Ambassador Teeth asked, 17 voices dripping with what I was pretty sure was condescension. Biologically? About 18 years, but legally we say 21 for some activities. The room erupted, and I don't mean polite murmuring. I mean full-blown laughter, growls, screeches, and what I think was the sound of someone's exoskeleton rattling in amusement. Kravik was practically wheezing. 18 years? My offspring are hunting independently at 6 months. Mine at 3 weeks, General Snarl added, examining her claws with renewed interest. 18 years. How does your species avoid extinction with that kind of vulnerability window? We're very protective of our kids, okay? We guard them aggressively. We've built entire social structures around fascinating, Ambassador Teeth interrupted. You admit to being weak, slow to mature, poorly armed by nature, and yet you claim apex predator status. The statistical probability of your survival seems improbable. Look, I said, feeling my face getting hot. We've got tool use. Advanced tool use. We make weapons. Really good weapons. Weapons that can level cities. We're also really good at cooperation and tool use. A delegate from the back row called out some kind of insectoid species with mandibles the size of my arm. That's adaptation, not predation. Even scavengers use tools. Our scavengers use tools, someone else added helpfully. Coordinator Wisp drifted nervously between me and the increasingly amused audience. Perhaps we should move on to the next presenter. Wait, Kravik said, holding up one massive claw. I want to understand this. Humanity, you have no venom, no claws, no armor, weak senses, and your young are helpless for nearly 2 decades. You use tools, which is commendable for a developing species, but hardly unique. You chase prey until it dies of fatigue, which honestly sounds exhausting for everyone involved. He leaned back in his seat, which groaned under his weight. Tell me, Commander Reeves, are you certain you didn't mean to attend the scavenger species social? It's on Station Nibble 3, much more your speed. I hear they have excellent seminars on trash distribution. The room lost it. Even General Snarl was making a sound that I think was Felinar laughter, though it sounded more like a malfunctioning engine. I stood there, gripping the podium, watching 200 apex predators from across the galaxy laugh at humanity's expense. My presentation had become a comedy show, and I was the punchline. Then something occurred to me, something that made me smile. You know what? I said quietly, waiting for the laughter to die down. You're absolutely right. On paper, humans shouldn't be apex predators. We're squishy, slow to mature, and we don't have natural weapons. I pulled out my personal data pad. But there's one thing I forgot to mention. One thing that really demonstrates what makes humanity special. Kravik waved a dismissive claw. What? Your ability to persist annoyingly? No, I said, my smile widening. Let me show you what we do with actual apex predators. I pulled up my photo gallery. Let me show you our pets. I swiped to the first image and projected it on the main screen. It was a photo from my sister's family album. Her 5-year-old daughter, Emma, curled up asleep on the couch with their German shepherd, Max. The dog was easily twice the kid's size, wrapped protectively around her like a furry blanket. The room went quiet. That, General Snarl said slowly, is a pack-hunting carnivore. Yeah, that's Max. He's a good boy. Your offspring is sleeping with it, Kravik observed, his vertical pupils narrowing to slits. Is this some kind of juvenile warrior bonding ritual? A war beast imprinting ceremony? What? No, that's just Tuesday afternoon. Emma and Max are best friends. Ambassador Teeth's voices came out slightly out of sync, which I was learning meant they were confused. Please clarify, this carnivorous pack hunter is not a guard animal or assault beast. You're claiming it's a companion? Well, yeah, we call them pets. We keep them in our homes, for companionship and emotional support. I swiped to the next image. My neighbor's tabby cat, Mr. Whiskers, lounging in a sunbeam. This is a cat, obligate carnivore, solitary ambush predator, retractable claws, excellent night vision, can fall from significant heights and survive. Their hunting success rate is around 32%, which is actually higher than lions. General Snarl stood up abruptly, her chair scraping across the floor. That is a felid apex predator. Yeah, Mr. Whiskers is pretty fierce. He once brought a whole rabbit through the pet door. And you keep this creature in your dwelling? Her tail was doing something complicated that I suspected meant she was distressed. About 25% of Earth households have at least one cat. Some people have like 5 or 6. That's... Kravik searched for words. That's insane. Wait, it gets better. I swiped through more photos. This is a ferret. Domesticated from European polecats. We specifically bred them to hunt rabbits by going into their burrows. You know, dark underground tunnels where you can't see. We made little tube-shaped carnivores to go in there and drag out prey. Logical, Ambassador Teeth hummed. Advanced hunting tools. Yeah, except now we mostly keep them as pets. They steal socks and do this thing called a war dance where they just hop around chaotically. It's adorable. I could see the confusion spreading through the audience like a virus. This, I continued, pulling up another image, is a ball python, constrictor snake, ambush predator. We keep them in glass tanks in our bedrooms. This one is named Spaghetti. You named a predator. Spaghetti? Kravik's voice had gone up an octave. The kid who owns him is 7. And here's a tarantula, venomous spider. This one's name is Fluffy. Fluffy? Fluffy? General Snarl's fur was standing on end now. Look, we think they're cute, okay? We also keep scorpions, parrots that can bite through bone, horses that weigh over 1,000 pounds, rabbits that can kick hard enough to break human bones. Wait, stop. Ambassador Teeth's 17 voices were now definitely out of sync. Go back. You said horses. You domesticated prey animals that can kill you? Well, yeah. First we used them for transportation and warfare, cavalry charges and stuff. Then we used them for farm work. Now, we mostly just ride them for fun or make them race while we gamble on the outcome. I pulled up a photo of a horse show. Some people dress them up and make them dance. It's called dressage. The silence in the room was deafening. Let me get this straight, Kravik said, his voice very quiet now. You took pack-hunting carnivores, apex predators, and you domesticated them into companions. Then you took megafauna prey animals and turned them into entertainment. You keep venomous creatures in your homes and give them endearing names. I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds weird. How else would I say it? He was almost shouting now. You're describing behavioral patterns of a species that weaponizes other species' predation instincts for amusement. General Snarl sat back down slowly. Commander Reeves, I need you to answer something honestly. The canine in the first image, the one sleeping with your juvenile. Max? Max, she repeated. What is his genetic origin? Oh, he's descended from gray wolves. You know, apex pack hunters. We domesticated them about 40,000 years ago. You domesticated wolves. Yeah, we made them cuter over time. Selective breeding. Some of them barely look like wolves anymore. I pulled up a photo of my aunt's Pomeranian. This is a wolf descendant. I have never seen a room full of apex predators look so disturbed. The Pomeranian photo seemed to break something in their collective psyche. You took apex predators, Ambassador Teeth said slowly, all 17 voices now speaking in perfect horrified unison. And you genetically modified them into that. We call that breed a Pomeranian. They're very popular. But yeah, we basically took wolves and spent thousands of years breeding them to be small, fluffy, and cute. We did similar things with dogs to make them better at specific tasks. Herding, hunting, guarding, pulling sleds. Some breeds can take down bears. And you let them sleep with your children. Well, yeah, they're family. Kravik put his head in his hands. Or claws. Whatever. What else? He asked, his voice muffled. What else do you keep as pets? I grinned. Oh man, you're gonna want to sit down for this. Actually, you are sitting. Good call. I pulled up my full photo folder. Let me tell you about humanity's hobby of domesticating literally anything we think is cool. Okay, so let's do this properly, I said, getting into the rhythm now. A comprehensive overview of what humanity considers acceptable roommates. I pulled up a slideshow. Dogs. We've been over this. But let me emphasize, we didn't just domesticate wolves. We created over 340 recognized breeds. Some are tiny enough to fit in a purse, others are large enough to hunt bears. We made some with faces so flat they can barely breathe. And we thought that was cute. We dress them in sweaters. We throw them birthday parties. There's an entire industry dedicated to dog fashion. Fashion, Kravik repeated weakly. Oh yeah. Dog Halloween costumes are a $3 billion industry. We make them look like hot dogs. It's hilarious. I swiped to the next series. Cats. Here's where it gets interesting. See, cats technically domesticated themselves. They just showed up at our grain stores to hunt mice, and we said, cool, you can stay. Now we worship them on the internet. We have given them laser pointers to trigger their hunting instincts for our entertainment. We grow a plant called catnip that makes them high. We watch them knock things off tables and think it's hilarious. General Snarl's ears were flat against her head. You give felid predators stimulants and then observe their behavior for amusement? I mean, yeah, they enjoy it though. They get all playful and roll around. It's adorable. Adorable, she whispered. Moving on. Horses. We've covered the basics. But did I mention we also bred miniature versions that serve no practical purpose? Miniature horses. They're just tiny horses. People keep them as emotional support animals. We also have donkeys, which we bred to be stubborn pack animals. And sometimes we breed horses and donkeys together to make mules, which are sterile but excellent workers. Ambassador Teeth's voices were completely out of sync now. You intentionally create hybrid species that cannot reproduce? For practical reasons, sure. But wait, there's more. Ferrets, like I mentioned. We took European polecats, vicious little predators, and turned them into tube-shaped chaos agents that steal shiny objects and hide them under couches. They also do this thing where they back up and make excited clicking noises. We call it the war dance. We encourage this behavior. I was really enjoying myself now. Birds. We keep parrots that can bite through broomsticks. African greys can crack Brazil nuts with their beaks, and they can also learn to speak human languages and swear at guests. We think this is funny. We teach them to swear on purpose. A delegate from the insectoid species raised a claw tentatively. Surely you don't keep predatory arthropods as companions. Oh, buddy, I said, pulling up a new folder. Tarantulas, scorpions, centipedes, vinegaroons, assassin bugs. We keep them in terrariums. We watch them eat. We breed them for specific colors and patterns. There are entire conventions dedicated to exotic invertebrates. People pay thousands of credits for rare color morphs. But why? Someone shouted from the back. Because they look cool. Same reason we keep venomous snakes. Ball pythons, boa constrictors, corn snakes, king snakes. Some people keep actually dangerous ones like cobras and vipers. It's illegal in most places, but people do it anyway. Kravik looked like he was having an existential crisis. What about aquatic predators? Oh man, fish. Yeah, people keep piranhas, which have razor-sharp teeth and hunt in coordinated groups. We also keep sharks in large aquariums. Not great whites, usually, but reef sharks and others. Some people have saltwater tanks that cost more than shuttlecraft. We keep lionfish, which are venomous. We keep moray eels, which will absolutely bite your hand off. We do this for ambiance. Ambiance, General Snarl repeated, like she was testing whether the word meant what she thought it meant. It means atmosphere. Aesthetic. It looks nice. I pulled up more images. We also tried to domesticate foxes, just to see if we could. Started as a scientific experiment. In Russia. Turned out, yeah, we totally can. It only took like 60 years of selective breeding. Now, some people keep them as pets, even though they smell terrible and scream at random. You domesticated another species purely as an experiment? Ambassador Teeth asked. For science. But also, we thought they'd be cute. And they are. They're very cute. What? Kravik said, his voice strained. Do you mean when you say tried to domesticate? Implying you domesticate species on a regular basis? Well, we've successfully domesticated at least 40 species. Dogs, cats, horses, donkeys, cattle, pigs, sheep, goats, chickens, ducks, geese, turkeys, rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, gerbils, rats, mice, ferrets, foxes, various fish species, honeybees, silkworms, camels, llamas, alpacas, reindeer, water buffalo, yaks, pigeons, budgies, cockatiels, canaries, goldfish, koi. Stop, please stop. General Snarl put her head on the table. And those are just the successful ones. We've tried with way more. There's a whole subculture of people trying to domesticate raccoons, which are clever little trash bandits with dexterous paws. It's not going great, but people keep trying. I pulled up one final image. A guy in Florida with an alligator on a leash. This is somewhat illegal, but some humans keep alligators, and bears, and tigers, and wolves, and cougars. We have terms for this: exotic pets, big cat rescue, wildlife rehabilitation. Sometimes the line between conservation and I want a dangerous animal in my backyard gets blurry. Florida? Kravik asked weakly. It's a region on Earth where laws are more like suggestions, and the local humans have achieved a reputation for questionable decisions. If there's a weird pet story, it probably happened in Florida. Ambassador Teeth's 17 voices somehow managed to sound faint. You have calculated the number of domesticated species at over 40. This implies systematic, deliberate domestication across multiple taxonomic families, including apex predators, venomous species, and megafauna. Yeah, pretty much. If it exists and doesn't immediately kill us, someone's probably tried to make it a pet. And you're young, Kravik said, looking at the photo of Emma and Max again. You're vulnerable, slow to mature offspring. You give them these creatures. We literally give children their own predators for birthday presents. Happy 8th birthday, Timmy. Here's a puppy. The puppy is a wolf descendant that will grow to 70 pounds and could absolutely kill the child. But we've bred the aggression out. So it's fine. Mostly fine. Usually fine. General Snarl looked up at me, and for the first time since I'd arrived, I saw something in her eyes that wasn't condescension. It was fear. Commander Reeves, she said quietly. What does this make humans? I smiled. Really good at making friends. The three main delegates, Kravik, Ambassador Teeth, and General Snarl exchanged looks. Not the kind of looks you give when you're sharing a joke, the kind of looks you exchange when you've just realized you're in a room with something far more dangerous than you initially thought. They huddled together, which was surreal to watch. A 9-foot reptilian death machine, a crystalline hive mind, and a 6-armed tiger warrior, having a very quiet, very urgent conversation. I couldn't hear most of it, but I caught fragments. Systematic domestication of competing predators. Ambassador Teeth's voices whispered in unison. They don't just hunt, General Snarl hissed. They make other hunters hunt for them. Then they watch. For entertainment. Kravik's tail was doing something I hadn't seen before, coiling and uncoiling rapidly. Think about it. They eliminated competition by either killing it or making it dependent on them. Those are the only two options in their paradigm. The wolves, General Snarl said, her voice tight. They took their competition for large game and turned them into collaborative tools, then breeding stock for aesthetic variations. The cats chose to coexist with them, Ambassador Teeth added. And humanity's response was to keep them, breed them, and give them stimulants while recording their behavior. I cleared my throat. You guys okay over there? Coordinator Wisp drifted nervously between us. Perhaps we should take a brief recess. No, Kravik said, turning back to face me. His eyes had changed. The casual superiority was gone. Commander Reeves, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Sure. Shoot. On your homeworld, Earth, where does humanity fall in the food chain? I blinked. The top? No, I mean currently. Right now. What are humanity's natural predators? Oh, we don't really have any anymore. The room somehow got quieter. Any more, General Snarl repeated. Meaning you did have them. Well, yeah, cave bears, big cats, crocodilians, wolves. Our ancestors dealt with a lot of large predators. And what happened to these predators? I shrugged. We killed most of them. The ones we didn't kill went extinct because we outcompeted them for resources. The really effective ones, the wolves and some of the cats we domesticated. Why? Kravik sat down heavily. You didn't just beat your competition. You erased it. Then you took their descendants and made them into companions. I mean, that's a pretty dark way of putting it, but technically accurate, I guess. Ambassador Teeth drifted closer. Commander, you mentioned that some humans keep dangerous predators illegally. Tigers, bears, wolves. Why would they do this despite legal prohibition? Honestly, some people just really like dangerous animals. There's something about having a powerful predator that trusts you. Makes people feel special, I guess. They want predators to trust them, General Snarl said slowly. They want apex predators to be dependent on them. Well, yeah, that's kind of what pets are. They depend on us for food, shelter, medical care. We take care of them. They provide companionship. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Mutually beneficial, Kravik said, his voice hollow. You've convinced other species' apex predators that they benefit from dependence on humanity. Dude, are you okay? You're looking a little pale. Can reptiles go pale? Coordinator Wisp pulsed an alarmed orange. Perhaps we should discuss humanity's technological achievements instead. No. Ambassador Teeth interrupted. One more question. Commander Reeves, you mentioned that humans killed off megafauna, mammoths, saber-toothed cats, giant sloths. Were these killed for sustenance? Some of them, sure. But a lot of them we just outcompeted. We took their territory, hunted their food sources, and they couldn't adapt fast enough. So, you didn't even eat them, General Snarl said quietly. You just removed the competition. Because you were bored of the competition, Kravik added, his voice barely above a whisper. I wouldn't say bored. More like we needed the space and resources. But yeah, if something competed with us for territory or food, it generally didn't go well for them. The three delegates looked at each other again. They don't just hunt, General Snarl said. They optimize. They remove obstacles to resource acquisition. And when they encounter an apex predator, Ambassador Teeth continued, they have three options. Eliminate it, outcompete it, or domesticate it. Those aren't the actions of a predator, Kravik said, standing up slowly. Those are the actions of something that sits above the entire concept of predation. I was starting to feel uncomfortable. Look, you guys are reading way too much into what would you call a species, General Snarl interrupted, that has eliminated all natural threats, domesticated competing predators, and modified other species' genetics for aesthetic preference? I thought about it. Successful? We would call them a super predator, Kravik said. An extinction event with opposable thumbs. Coordinator Wisp drifted between us again, pulsing frantically. I think we should move on to the awards ceremony. One final question, Ambassador Teeth said. All 17 voices perfectly synchronized for the first time since I'd met them. Commander Reeves, does humanity have any natural predators remaining on Earth? Anything that actively hunts humans? I mean, sharks occasionally, but we hunt them way more than they hunt us. Crocodiles in some regions, some big cats in areas where human and wildlife territory overlap. But mostly we've moved into their spaces, so it's rare. So the answer is no. The answer is no, not really. We're pretty much at the top of the food chain, and have been for thousands of years. Because you ate your predators, Kravik said. Well, and then domesticated their cousins. Okay, when you say it like that, as pets, which you give to your children. I held up my hands. Look, I feel like we've taken a weird turn here. General Snarl looked me dead in the eyes. Commander Reeves, do humans consider other species friends? I mean, yeah, people love their pets. We bond with them emotionally. And how do these friendships typically begin? I thought about my sister's dog, my neighbor's cat, the countless stories of people adopting strays. Usually we just start taking care of them. Feed them, give them shelter, make sure they're healthy. Before you know it, they're part of the family. The look she gave me could have frozen a star. That's how it starts, she whispered. Coordinator Wisp pulsed through several colors I'm pretty sure weren't on the approved emotional spectrum chart. Right. Well, this has been extremely informative. Shall we move to the voting process for this year's Apex Predator rankings? The delegates were still staring at me like I just told them their entire galaxy was scheduled for demolition. Kravik cleared his throat. I move that humanity be immediately promoted to Apex Predator status. Special category. Seconded, General Snarl said quickly. Agreed by consensus. Ambassador Teeth's 17 voices chimed in perfect unison. Wait, what? I said. I mean, that's great, but what's the special category? Domestication Specialist, Kravik said. It's a new category. We just invented it. Congratulations. We're also updating the classification system, General Snarl added. already typing frantically on her datapad. New designation. Species that domesticate other apex predators are to be given wide diplomatic berth and extensive trade privileges, plus preferred seating at all future conferences. Ambassador Teeth added, far away from everyone else, for safety reasons. Whose safety? I asked. Yes, all three of them said simultaneously. Coordinator Wisp was now pulsing a color that might have been relieved purple. Excellent. Then we're all in agreement. Humanity is officially recognized as Kravik. Raised a claw tentatively. Commander Reeves, hypothetically speaking, is humanity currently accepting diplomatic applications for cultural exchange programs? I mean, sure. We're always open to friendly species visiting Earth. And these visiting species, he continued carefully, would they be considered guests or what? Or friends? The way he said friends made it sound like a terminal diagnosis. Well, yeah, hopefully friends. That's kind of the point of diplomacy, right? General Snarl made a noise that was somewhere between a whimper and a growl. Does Earth have any specific regulations regarding the adoption of off-world species? 1. I don't think we've really figured that out yet. Why? No reason, she said quickly. Just asking for a friend. A friend who is definitely not me. A friend who is considering emigrating to somewhere very far away from human space. Ambassador Teeth drifted slightly backward. We have calculated the statistical probability of maintaining sovereign independence while in close proximity to a species that domesticates apex predators. The results are concerning. Okay, you guys are being really weird about this. Weird, Kravik repeated. Yes, we're the weird ones. Not the species that turned wolves into purse-sized companions and thinks venomous spiders make good roommates. Definitely us. My communicator buzzed. I glanced at it and couldn't help but laugh. What? General Snarl asked, her ears perking up nervously. It's from the Earth Diplomatic Office. They're asking if I can get approval for someone to bring their emotional support alligator to next year's conference. The sound that came from Kravik was something between a laugh and a cry for help. Emotional support alligator. Yeah, apparently it helps with his anxiety. The alligator helps with his anxiety, General Snarl repeated slowly. That's what the message says. Your species, Ambassador Teeth said, all 17 voices vibrating with something that might have been hysteria, has made a predatory reptile into a therapy animal. I mean, this is just one guy. Most people go with dogs or cats for emotional support. Oh, well, that's perfectly reasonable then, Kravik said. Just domesticated wolf descendants. Nothing concerning about that. Coordinator Wisp pulsed a decisive yellow. I believe we should conclude this year's conference. Commander Reeves, humanity's credentials have been accepted. Your documentation will be updated within 3 business cycles. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. This was fun. Fun, General Snarl muttered. Yes, discovering that humans are actually the scariest species in the galaxy was tremendously fun. As the delegates started filing out, I noticed they were giving me a considerably wider berth than when I'd arrived. Kravik actually pressed himself against the far wall as he passed, which was impressive for someone his size. Hey, I called out as they reached the door. Same time next. Year? They all froze. Probably, Kravik said weakly. We'll send you the details. From a safe distance. Using encrypted channels, with several intermediaries. We look forward to continued diplomatic relations, Ambassador Teeth added. From our respective territories, which are very far apart. Deliberately. General Snarl paused at the doorway, looking back at me one final time. Commander Reeves. That photo of the child and the canine. Emma and Max. Yeah? Does Max know he's descended from wolves? Does he remember what his ancestors were? I thought about my sister's goofy German shepherd who was afraid of the vacuum cleaner and ate grass when his stomach hurt. Honestly, I don't think so. He just knows he loves Emma and she gives him treats. General Snarl's tail drooped. That's what I was afraid of. She left, and I was alone in the conference hall with Coordinator Wisp, who pulsed a tired gray. That went well, I said. Commander Reeves, in my 300 years as coordinator, I have never seen delegates more thoroughly disturbed. Is that bad? For you? No. For them? Wisp pulsed something that might have been amusement. Let's just say that humans have successfully established exactly the reputation you wanted. No one will underestimate your species again. Because we keep pets? Because you turned apex predators into pets, Commander. There's a difference. A significant, terrifying difference. My communicator buzzed again. Another message from Earth. What now? Wisp asked warily. I read the message and grinned. Someone just domesticated otters. They want to know if that counts for next year's presentation. Coordinator Wisp turned a color I'm pretty sure wasn't on any chart. You people are going to give the entire galaxy anxiety disorders, Wisp said. Yeah, I said, pulling up a photo of the otters holding hands. But look how cute they are. Wisp pulsed something that might have been resignation. Same time next year, Commander? Wouldn't miss it. I'll bring pictures of our guinea pigs. Did you know we bred them from wild cavies? We made them fat and fluffy and they squeak when they hear the refrigerator open. Please stop talking. One of them is named Professor Wigglebottom. I'm updating the station's right or day. Security protocols. He wears tiny sweaters. Coordinator Wisp drifted away, pulsing rapidly through colors that probably translated to existential dread. I packed up my datapad and headed for the docking bay, already planning next year's presentation. Maybe I'd lead with the fact that we taught dolphins to play basketball, or that we bred teacup pigs, or that we had an entire sport based on riding angry bulls. The galaxy wasn't ready for humanity, but that had never stopped us before. After all, we'd looked at wolves and thought, let's make them our best friends. Compared to that, interstellar diplomacy was going to be easy. Behind me, I heard Kravik's voice echo through the station. Someone schedule a galaxy-wide seminar on maintaining sovereignty near humans. Make it mandatory. I smiled and kept walking. Yeah, we were going to fit in just fine.